cannot throw people out. But if they start beating on us, then we can get a hold of you.
It's not just even beat on you. If they interfere with your permitted event at all,
then we have that right.
Yeah,
but if I'm standing here with a sign and not saying a word,
I know it's
can't
okay.
do it. If I'm having a conversation with somebody and they're asking me questions and it's not loud, it's not interfering with your demonstration, it is not defamation or anything, he has every right to do that.
I agree.
And just to help you out, I am right there in that vehicle, that black vehicle right there. And if I even see anything going on over here where something like that might arise, I'll move myself closer. But anyone that's with you can come over and get me at any possible time.
What vehicle is that?
Thank you, sir. Right there on Pennsylvania Avenue. It's the only black vehicle there is.
I see
Look for the patch. So this is what his patch looks like.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I have no problem even driving down closer and being right here the whole time.
Thank you for doing this for us.
We're going to start probably by 11:30, maybe a couple minutes after that.
Do we address you as Officer
But
Eddington?
anyway,
You can call me sir, you can call me Officer Eddington. My first name's Jack. I really,
But I do
anything to get
not
my
appreciate what he did.
Thank you, Jack.
all of it friendly.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, we had a
God
supporter here
protect
who
you.
wanted to debate about
Because-
the tripods, and I was just
I know.
asking
And you too, ma'am.
not to argue a debate with parts that
can I ask you something?
I did not
wasn't
know we
debating
could
it.
not have someone
Right.
removed from the permitted
know.
area. That's new to me. The other permitted areas
Driving me
in the state of North Carolina places we've
Anyway,
had
ma'am,
that. So if someone showed
I have a
up
question to ask
intentionally trying to cause any difficulty.
Yeah, if
See how
there's someone that gets in the way of what they're trying to do, or if
leaning
they're
against there to kind of help
pretty obvious,
balance
right.
it or something.
be respectful of each
This
other.
is a chair, that's a chair. If it was a cane,
Okay,
No, not
we got it.
this.
Thank you,
Right
sir.
here.
All right.
yeah. I'm not going to say she can't, anything she needs for that to be used.
Yes,
But what needs to, please don't film.
We're in public. You're an officer of the state. It is absolutely my right to film.
Not without my permission.
Not how they.
Come on.
Public place.
That is absolutely our constitutional right as Americans.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm Wes Parker, and I just wanted to say, I'm an original Trump supporter. For those who have Trump hats, I got one actually signed by Donald Trump when I was in Las Vegas, backstage with the Remembrance Project. Okay, now the Donald Trump that, I support is the one back in the primaries that said support them all. Somehow or another, that Donald Trump has disappeared, and we seem to have a different Donald Trump there. I'm not sure who this guy is. But what do we have here? We know. The problem is, it's not a thing of illegal immigration. What we literally have here is an invasion of America. This is what we have. We have a standing army of civilian militia of about 30 to 40 million. How did they get here? They just simply walked behind the border, behind their weapons. What are their weapons? Children. They hide behind children and use our compassion as a weapon against us. Now imagine an army coming in and occupying the land, and from that army you get rogue soldiers that go out amongst the villages and rape and pillage those villages at night. Who are those? Those are the MS-13 gang members. Okay? So how do you get rid of the MS-13 gang members? You get rid of the standing army. How do you get rid of the standing army? You take away their weapons, their sword and their shield. They are hiding behind their children, using our compassion as a weapon against us. Now, Gandhi was smart. He knew how to get power back to the people of India. How is it? He went and made one grain of sand. So here's what I want. I want to take away their sword and their shield. I want power given back to the people. How do we do that? We begin to deport DACA recipients.
Yeah.
Understand, DACA does not give any illegal alien the legal right to be here. What it does is it extends the president's privilege of when he wants to take legal action against them and deport them. Now, right now we have a district court judge that told Donald Trump, you have to keep DACA in place. Now, if I was Donald Trump, I would challenge that district court judge and say, we are co-equal branches of government. You do not have the authority to tell me that I cannot enforce federal immigration laws. If you want me to stop, you take it to the Supreme Court. Between now and then, DACA is finished. But even if Trump didn't want to do that, even if Trump wanted to follow DACA to the T, even if Trump wanted to follow DACA to the T, okay, he has the authority right now to deport any dreamer he wants to. And that's what I want. I want to stop the deportation of MS-13 gang members, which are nothing more than the rogue soldiers. I want to first take away the sword and the shield from the standing army, which produces those rogue soldiers. That's what I want to do. So I want them to deport DACA. Now think about it. We have the rule of law. We do not have a hierarchy of illegal aliens here. What we have right now is the illegal aliens are setting our immigration policy. If you have a good enough crybaby story, you get to stay.
Correct.
We do not have rule of law via the will of the people. We have crybaby rule of law. It's a crybaby contest. That's all this is. Now, if illegal aliens are determined who gets to stay by who has the best crybaby story, okay, that means we the people are not determining who to stay. I want the power of the people to go back into the hands of the people that Donald Trump promised us on inaugurational day. That's what I want. How do we do that? I want dreamers deported.
Yeah.
That's who I want. They're not a special class of people. They're not above the law. That's all DACA does. He gives the president temporary power to put illegal aliens above the rule of law.
Justice for all.
I want justice for all illegal aliens. Now they say they want to have a dream. Well, they're not entitled to the American dream. What dream are they entitled to? Back in their countries, there are heroes standing up against their corrupt governments. And they're looking behind them going, where are the people standing with me? Let me tell you something. I support their dream of having every single illegal alien return home to their country and stand behind them. Every illegal alien, you're entitled to that dream. The dreams of the heroes of your country standing up to the corrupt government. Not only are you 100% entitled to that dream, you are 100% obligated to that dream. Look at these illegal aliens have come here because they're just simply too coward to stand with their heroes.
That's right.
They love money more than the freedom and the well-being of their own country. Let's face it, they're not here for some great noble cause. They're just here for the money. That's all these people are here for. And the argument is, well, we can't send people home to the only country they've ever known is home. Well, that might be true for a 2-year-old who came here, but not a 16-year-old. If you're 16 years old and you come here, then you've left the only country you've ever known from your childhood. And if that's the truth, why don't we just end all immigration legal if you're going to bring a child? Because we can't allow you to bring a child from the only country you've ever known as home to America. And from the child's perspective, what difference does it make that they came here legally or illegally? No, I want to deport the dreamers first because that will send a message to the world that the American people are back in charge. And there's no future for you here. See, we not only elected Donald Trump to build a wall, we elected him to be the barking dog on the other side of the wall. We want a Trump yard dog barking. Yeah. We don't want a Trump poodle. The illegal aliens are not afraid of a Trump poodle. And I'm afraid, guys, as much as I love Donald Trump, that's what we got in the White House, is a poodle. And I'm looking for that Trump yard dog that we seen on the campaign trail.
Illegals go home.
Because that Trump yard dog scared those illegal aliens so much when they heard his barking. Illegal immigration was down when his first administration changed. So something changed during that point. Laws didn't change, something else changed. They realized the bark's not from a Trump yard dog, it's just from a Trump poodle. And there's nothing to be scared of. So guys, let's pack our bags and head to America because there's a future for us illegal aliens there.
Yeah, good job, Wes.
Yeah.
Good job.
Good job, brother. Good job.
Thank you, Wes, and that's exactly true. The rule of law does not exist here in America, and if it does exist, it's selective enforcement by your body politic in your government. And we cannot, and we will not,
Volume up a bit, sir.
we will not stand for that.
Volume up.
Okay, my next speaker is another man who's been in this movement since 2005 and probably beyond that. His name is William Gheen of ALIPAC. He is actually a think tank within himself across America and has been for the last 15 years. He is more than an acquaintance of mine. He's a friend. And I'm going to introduce him now, and here's William Gheen of ALIPAC.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank everybody for coming out. Future speakers, this microphone, you got to speak directly into it. First thing I want everybody out there watching to know, for those that don't know me, I endorsed Donald Trump. I lost about a fourth of my organization when I endorsed his campaign during the primary. I donated money to Donald Trump. I campaigned for him, I rallied for him, I volunteered for him, I made phone calls for him, I put out signs for him, I attended the inauguration of Donald J. Trump, and I want my money back. You're going to hear different speakers here today that have varying degrees of support for President Trump, many of which you still plan to fully campaign and support him, to people who are like me, where Donald Trump has lost my vote. And if you want Donald Trump to win, you need to understand why. And you need to be willing to pressure Donald Trump to return to his campaign promises. Now, I can tell you exactly what type of quick fake news comments are going to go up on the video feed for this. Trump 2020, MAGA chants, I love Donald Trump, I trust Donald Trump. Let me explain a couple things to you. If you're the type of person who's looking for love, you are looking for love in the wrong places. Do not look to Washington, D.C. in campaigns and elections. Two, the founding fathers of this great nation had nothing to do with trust in mind when they created the division of powers and the checks and balances. And the number one check and balance and division of power is we the people. You have an obligation as American citizens to hold Donald J. Trump and all lawmakers to their oath of office and their campaign promises. And I contend at this very moment that Donald J. Trump is breaking faith with his oath of office and the United States Constitution. Specifically, Article 4 of the United States Constitution, which he put his hand on a Bible and swore an oath to uphold, and that requirement is, it is not an option. It is not something Donald Trump has an elective to do. He is required to, quote, protect all states from invasion. Right. We are being invaded, and the president is not protecting all states from invasion. If you like Donald Trump's campaign promises, especially on immigration, and you don't know me, well, you love what I got to say. Because Donald Trump got elected by co-opting my national organization's platform. If you go to alipac.us, not only can you get more information about the things I'm saying here in the announcement section, but go click on the platform. It was written 10 years before Donald Trump ran for president, and you're going to hear the same things that he used to win the election that he's not doing now. Let me tell you what Donald Trump owns. Donald Trump owns the largest wave of illegal immigration in American history that's happening right now on his watch. Is that accurate, people? Is that accurate?
Yes. 1 million people in 6 months.
1 million people. That's why we are here today in front of the White House. I got a lot of comments saying, go protest Congress. Go protest the judges. Let me tell you something. It is not the fault, although the Democrats in Congress are horrible, and I don't want socialist Democrats elected. It's not their fault. These are presidential directives and unenforced laws. Do you know how many businesses Donald J. Trump fined last year for hiring illegal aliens? 11. He did a little better than the Bush administration that did 0. But Barack Obama punished more businesses for hiring illegal immigrants than Donald Trump. Donald Trump has the U.S. Constitution, Article 4, which overrides the Democrats squawking in Congress and these lower court Obama-appointed judges. Let me make another announcement in case the president can hear this. Hey, President Trump, the United States is not under the rule of lower court judges. The Ninth Circuit doesn't run the country. Our existing laws run the country, and it's his job to enforce them. I know you all have been watching Fox News this morning and reading Breitbart about how President Trump, his latest threat of a 5% tariff against Mexico, has led to some great accomplishment on immigration. Well, I got a couple problems with that. Never before, during an invasion or time of war, because the president has admitted that this is an invasion, has anybody tried to use a tariff, much less a 5% tax, to address the invading army. It's the wrong response. It's an inadequate response. And Trump says that he's using the tariff to get Mexico to do more to stop illegal immigrants from entering the United States. Well, guess what? Newsflash, USA. It's not the job of Mexico to stop illegal immigrants from entering the United States. That is the sole specific job of President Donald J. Trump.
Guns up!
I'm tired of these excuses where, oh, it's the Democrats won't let me, the courts won't let me, Mexico won't do it. President Xi of China says he's going to stop the fentanyl chemical weapon attacks on our children. Somebody else is going to do something. This is not, it is clear to me that Donald J. Trump is not the man he campaigned to be. And I want him to return to his campaign promises. You say, well, what promises, William Gheen? What promises you're talking about? He promised us over and over he would end Obama's clearly unconstitutional and illegal DACA amnesty on day 1, and we're in year 3, and that has not happened. And you will hear many, many Trump supporters tell you honestly and sincerely that 3 years into a Trump administration, we are not where we expected to be on immigration. If somebody who was elected, who promised us the things Donald Trump promised, had gotten in there and done the things that he said he were going to do, there'd be an unprecedented number of illegals leaving this country on their own accord. We were promised a new deportation force. Did we get one? No. We were promised mass deportations of illegals. Did we get that?
No.
We were promised a wall. Do we have a wall?
No.
Okay, we don't have a wall. Oh, he promised us just before the midterm elections to end birthright citizenship for illegals by executive orders. Did we get that?
No.
Did he hire Sheriff Joe Arpaio to secure the border?
No.
Did he hire Chris Kobach to help fight illegal immigration?
No.
No. No, no, no. There's more. If you want to see the top 10 Trump broken or unfulfilled immigration promises, they're all in the announcement section at alipac.us. The list goes on, including his most recent hire of Obama's Democratic border chief, what's his name, Mark Johnson? Is that his name? The new ICE head of ICE, the Obama administrator Trump just hired, the amnesty supporting. Did we elect Donald Trump to have anything to do with the Obama administration? No. Did we want to keep any of Obama's key employees over immigration?
No.
That's what we've got. Donald Trump, my problem with Donald Trump is that he acts more like a Democrat on immigration than a conservative, Republican, populist, and all the things he's been accused of. Now, another reason we're here, and I can't thank Raymond Herrera enough for getting the permit and bringing all these good speakers together. Another reason we're here is that an amnesty bill, DREAM Act amnesty, H.R. 6, passed the House with flying colors the other day, which would give amnesty to 2 to 4 million illegal immigrants. Some people say that we can afford to exchange 4 million amnesty for some border wall funds or some of this or whatever. Let me make this very clear to everybody out there watching. 4 million amnesty illegal immigrants equals 4 million you straight Democratic Party socialist voters, displacing 4 million Trump supporters forevermore.
Amen.
Forevermore, knocked out of American politics. You never matter again. You saw Donald Trump win by a nuance in electoral college by a squeaker, and if that amnesty bill is passed, they're like, well, Trump's going to veto it. Trump's going to veto it. You're not looking at the same information we're looking at. Senator Lindsey Graham intends to get that bill passed through the Senate, just like they passed the Gang of 8 bill 5 years ago. And Jared Kushner, the senior White House advisor, son-in-law, lifelong Democrat, is in charge of these deals. Kushner, who you can write to at his address of 666 Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, so much for the Christian voters.
Lifelong Democrat.
You know, if I was going to start a business, I was like, hey man, I want to be at the number of the beast. I don't need any Christian customers. So Kushner has got the deal cut. But if you read Breitbart, any Breitbart News fans here? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a Breitbart News fan later, but they are on the Trump-trained cheerleading squad right now with the Drudge Report and World Net Daily and other people I'm fans of. And they had an article that says, White House threatens to veto amnesty bill. And everybody's like, yeah, Trump's going to veto it. You go read it, it says, we would encourage the president to veto it in its current form. Meaning, they're open to signing this bill in a different form. President Trump is likely to sign an amnesty bill, and there's 4 or 5 other reasons we know that he supports amnesty for DREAM Act illegal aliens, although he campaigned specifically against amnesty. He told us on the campaign trail, no amnesty. Marco Rubio supports amnesty. That Gang of 8 bill is amnesty. But yet, the president, there's a big difference between what he says and what he actually does. He says things that are red meat to his base, and then he either doesn't do them or he does 180 degrees opposite. And I know some Trump supporters will be very sad to hear me say this, but in my opinion, President Trump is a serial liar. He has lied again and again and again, and I'm here to call him out on the lies and tell him he needs to return to his campaign promises. He needs to tell Kushner to pack his bags and find another job because we don't engage in nepotism at the White House, and we don't hire lifelong Democrats to cut deals with Democrats on amnesty legislation, and we don't have a family member as my advisor. How are we, the people, supposed to lobby the president better than his son-in-law and his daughter?
Right. Yeah.
It's an unfair advantage. It's not what we voted for. This is not what we voted for. I got 2 minutes left. I warned you about House Resolution 6. We need people on the phones to the U.S. Senate to tell these senators to back off the amnesty. We need everybody calling and writing and emailing the White House to tell Donald Trump, don't you dare sign this amnesty. We need people, tell Trump, pick up the phone. Call Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Border Patrol, the U.S. military, call them all into the War Room in the Oval Office and tell them to shut down catch and release today.
Yeah.
Articles should not read that the Border Patrol apprehended 144,000 illegal immigrants in May. The Border Patrol assisted 144,000 illegal immigrants in May, because right now 100% of illegal alien families are being escorted into the United States by the administration of President Donald J. Trump. Your tax dollars are buying them airfare tickets to any place they want to go in the United States. And according to patriots on the ground, they're allowed to walk right back by TSA with their bottles of water, with their bottles of formula, with their bottles of Gatorade. They don't even have to go through the inspections we do to get on the planes. And right now, all across this country, from Maine to California, illegals that arrived last week are preparing to register to vote and vote in 2020. Why? There's nothing stopping them from registering to vote and voting for the Democrats in 2020. Another broken Trump campaign promise is he promised to get the non-citizens out of the elections, and he hasn't done it. So when you vote in 2020, illegal immigrants entering tonight are going to be voting against you. And the last thing I want to say is they're on their phones, their Obama phones that you're paying for with your cell phone bill, and they're calling back to Honduras, which is emptying out, and they're saying, hey, I got here last week, I got my free housing assistance, I got my food assistance, I got my Obama phone, little Jimmy's getting that dental care they always wanted to get, and everything is being provided for. The message is going around the world. The sack of Rome, the sack of America, America's invisible civil war is upon us, and Donald J. Trump is not doing his job. So in 2020, I'm going to probably, unless another Republican primary candidate that's real about these issues emerges, I'm going to write in Ann Coulter's name or something. But I will not be voting for Donald J. Trump, and I know that there are many, many Americans who feel the way I do. And if Donald Trump actually passes or writes that amnesty law, the war to save America from illegal immigration is over. There's no way numerically anybody could ever win another national election talking like Donald J. Trump. But the number of people like me who feel that Trump has betrayed them will quadruple. And you can say hello to Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden or whoever you're going to get for the next 100 years as they pack them in. So I appreciate this opportunity to say these things to you and the cameras and here at the White House. And again, thank you to every single one of you that came. We've got some other great speakers coming, and God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, William Gheen of ALIPAC. Our next speaker is another California activist, and her name is Miriam. And I'm going to introduce you to her.
Cowboys are here.
Yeah, I'm going to introduce you to Miriam right now, and she's out in California and has been out there for at least 5 to 10 years being an activist on behalf of America. Miriam?
Well, actually, it goes back to the 70s. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and about my father and my mom, my whole family. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little bit about myself, my family, my dad, and where it started. He started in the 1970s. Actually, it goes way back to the 70s when my dad used to work at the LA County Hospital. And he used to see illegal people coming in from outside, bringing babies, having babies there. They're called anger babies. Just literally hundreds a day. He said they just pour them in. And even the Chinese have paid to have them come here and bear them, birthright. So they think they have a birthright to be born here just because they're born here. Okay, so I'm very confused at how this birth thing is about the voting. But anyway, my family came here, my mom on her 1800s, my dad came here, my mom grandma came through through Ellis Island like everybody else should be doing. We should be having it. Everybody should be coming in the right way. If everybody would do that, we wouldn't be in this situation we are today. We're so divided. This country is so polarized. Okay, so the point I'm saying is that we have to stop the illegal aliens coming in at the border. Period. Period. Okay, we need to stop them. We need to keep them from coming in. Period. The reason is because we have too many people here that we don't know who they are, where they come from. And President Trump even talked about his so-called snake. Let me tell you something. It's stemming from Haim Solomon. He spent every dime he had. He went to Philadelphia and begged the Jewish people there to help this country back in the 1770, 83, to get on its feet, to fight off the British, so we can have our independence. We worked so hard to make this country great, the Christians and the Jewish people. And this is based on both, Judeo-Christians and everybody together. So what we're... Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get everything in. The reason is because what we need to have is structure. If we don't have structure, we're going to have chaos. We either have people together or we're not together. Okay, under one God. If we all worship one God, and I hope God protects us all here today with blessings for all of us together, that God protects us here. What I'm saying is that this is very important, that we have law and order and not chaos. I want people to have good civility, that we can have a nice, peaceful world here in the United States and worldwide. An example of people making a country based on strength. And when President Trump talks about his story called the snake, he says, don't take a snake in, you don't know what the snake's going to do. Okay, the poor snake is injured. You know, you take him in, and then all of a sudden he turns on you. You don't know what these people's intentions are. Let me tell you, they just caught one just yesterday with ISIS. Okay, we cannot go on like this. No more. They should be pushed over the border, have the military stand there. We can have the wall up in days with the new El Paso, the one that was just built at Monument 1. Go take a look, folks. Okay, if you go to dsn74news.com, that's one of the outlets. Anthony Conservative, you go there and he'll show you exactly what they're doing. Jim Benvey is another one. If you go there, you will see the work they have done, and it's called Build a Wall Incorporated. We Build a Wall Incorporated. Okay, this is a good beginning. People have been giving, you don't even have to give $1. Even $1 won't kill you. I know that they've been saying that Brian Kofage doing this and that, but the example shows, if he's transparent, shows what he's doing, we're going to get this wall done in a week, and we don't even have to worry about closing the border. Let me tell you, we need to close the border right now for a week and put the wall up so quick, they don't know what hit them, okay? We can put the tariff in, I don't care. Let Mexico prove that they're going to abide by our laws. We don't have Mexico tell us that they're going to keep these people up if they haven't done it since October. President Trump said he was going to close the border in October. Well, he said he'll wait another year and see what happens with Mexico does.
1 million people in 6 months.
Exactly. 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 We're going to have 2 million, maybe 3 million. And this is just going on and on and on, and I'm sick and tired of it, because my husband could have been killed by an illegal alien. She didn't even have a driver's license, just an ID, and now she can go down and vote. Any of you can go down and vote. All they have to do is just get a driver's license, walk in and be able to vote. They don't check your ID, ladies and gentlemen, when you go vote. These illegal aliens are coming here to vote for the Democrats. And Trump, all he's doing is just playing a card here, and you know, chutzpah schmuck, Schumer played him, and he played into his game. Schumer said he'll back off on the tariffs, and what did he do? He did it, because chutzpah schmuck Schumer knows. And I'll tell you something. I wish that the good Jewish people would stand up to the bad ones, like the George Soros.
Yes.
That's the one that had turned in our people, and we cannot let that happen again in America. I do not want people, I do not know who's coming in. We need to check and vet them and make sure that they're not bad people. And this is why I want to enforce the immigration law in the United States and not depend on other countries. When the UN is telling us that we have to have them come in under Agenda 21 and then make it then Agenda 2030, I don't want to turn into communism, because these people are coming from the country, and this is so important for me to see America return to prosperity, to return to its sanity. Let's stop the illegals, aliens getting a free ride. They come in, they get on buses, I've seen it. They get, you got brand new clothes. They're getting food, they're getting water, and even the Jewish Family Service is working coordinated with in San Diego. I don't want them to do this anymore. It's not right for them to help people coming in when the people are homeless on the street. They won't help them.
Right.
It's terrible. Americans first.
Right.
And I don't know why, but Trump better get on the ball and wake up and do it right now today and stop his thinking that amnesty is the answer. It's not going to be working. Amnesty is just going to continue and continue and continue.
Right.
We've had 8 of them since 1986. It's ridiculous. I don't want any more. Thank you
Right.
very much.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well done.
Thank you, Miriam, and let's put this thing back up here. All right, my next speaker is a speaker that I have a lot of respect for. Tragically, she lost her daughter to illegal aliens, drug cartels, and Mexico. Since 2005, I've been in the battle for America, and I'm one of the first ones, if not the first one, that started holding candlelight vigils for Americans who were killed by illegal aliens. To me, I think that all of America needs to hear Jeanne Reid tell her story, and I'm going to introduce Jeanne Reid from Ohio. She'll tell you her story. Jeanne.
Oh, Virginia is your name.
Hi, my name's Virginia Krieger, and I'm here today because I can no longer stand by and enable with my silence a government that has abandoned their primary purpose to protect the people of this nation and is now supporting and promoting policies that are killing our children. My only daughter, Tiffany, was one of the greatest people anyone could ever want to know. She was an incredibly kind and loving person, a fierce defender of the weak and the downtrodden, and she was the first to reach out a helping hand to anyone she ever saw that might be in need. After Hurricane Andrew decimated Florida in 1992, when Tiffany was only 4 years old, she helped me in my volunteer work with the Red Cross, and we filled an entire warehouse in Lordstown, Ohio, with the donations we collected from local businesses and individuals. I will never forget the day we were out gathering those donations, and Tiffany said to me, "Mommy, what about the kids?" I thought she was worried about their safety and security and started to reassure her that the kids were fine, they're okay. And she said, "But the kids lost everything too." Then she firmly announced in her 4-year-old voice, "I'm donating my toys to the children." Needless to say, we added coloring books, crayons, and children's toys to our list of donation requests. That compassion and love for others never faded in Tiffany, but only grew with the passage of time. Tiffany was a great student. She graduated high school a year early, and at 17, she was already beginning her freshman year in college. Her life was right on track. She was a talented musician and vocalist, and since she was a child, she won contests, talent competitions all over the world. She made it to the 3rd round of the American Idol auditions in Cleveland, Ohio, passing by 25,000 other vocalists to become one of the top 60 being considered for the show. When the troops were activated after 9/11 in our hometown of Westfield, Massachusetts, Tiffany organized a student group to form a yellow ribbon campaign. And all the trees on Main Street in our town were festooned with yellow ribbons in support of our military. Tiffany died February 2nd, 2015, due to an overdose of heroin laced with fentanyl. Her beautiful light in this world, gone. Her music silenced forever. If anyone had told me this would have been her end, I would have laughed, because not my child. There is no way that my bright, beautiful, talented daughter would ever use an illegal drug, let alone heroin or fentanyl. But I was wrong. Tiffany was the epitome of the all-American girl next door. I still can't understand how it happened. I still have trouble processing the whirlwind of events that brought her to such a terrible end. But I am here to tell you that if it can happen to Tiffany, it can happen to anyone's child. In 2015 alone, 72,000 people died due to overdoses. That is more people than we lost during the entire Vietnam War. Yet the media never informed the public of the driving force behind those deaths. The Mexican drug cartels, which have infested the United States. Instead of addressing these criminal drug cartels and protecting our children, the fake news media and the complicit politicians labeled it as an opioid epidemic. And they pointed their fingers at the doctors when every single politician and media outlet knew that the 500+% increase in heroin overdoses was driven by the heroin, methamphetamines, and fentanyl pouring over the U.S.-Mexican border. And the Obama administration policies that prevented the border security then enabled and protected the very illegal aliens and criminal drug cartels killing our children. In 2017, nearly 494,000 people in the United States 12 years or older reported using heroin within the last year. That's a 980% increase since 2009. I don't understand how we could have a 980% increase in heroin use in this country in only 8 years, and our Democratic legislature continues to support and enable the Mexican drug cartels and the criminal illegal aliens that are killing them. Thomas Jefferson once said, "The purpose of our government is to enable the people of a nation to live in safety and happiness." Government exists.
Pardon me.
It's okay.
I wish I had cards. My hands are shaking.
It's all right. Take your time. It's all right.
Government exists for the interests of the governed, not for the governors. I'm here to tell our governments that we do not feel safe, nor are we happy with this continued invasion by criminal illegal immigrants, drug cartels, human traffickers, and brutal gangs.
Yes.
Amen.
In 2014, the Obama administration passed an executive action protecting the unaccompanied minors and reinstituted the catch and release program. 1 year later, we had an incredible 500+% spike in heroin and fentanyl related deaths, yet our politicians have failed to inform the public. In addition to allowing these criminals into our country, the Obama administration further enabled the drug cartels by providing taxpayer-funded weapons to the program called Fast and Furious.
That's right.
2,500 AK-47s, 50 sniper rifles, and 2.5 million rounds to the very brutal cartels killing our children.
Yes.
Border Agent Brian Terry in Arizona was ambushed and killed with one of those very weapons.
That's right.
As we speak, 133,000 illegal immigrants crossed the border illegally last month alone. These are not the only ones we know about. Millions more have succeeded successfully evaded capture and are currently at large in the United States.
Right.
The best estimates aren't effective to tell us how many people are in the country illegally, but conservative estimates place the number at over 40.5 million.
Yep.
Mexico is a full narco state.
Yes.
This means that their government, their law enforcement, are completely controlled by the drug cartels.
That's right.
These people are waking up to decapitated bodies in their streets. A police force that is so corrupted that they can't get any help if there are crimes occurring to them. 15,000 of their children are being kidnapped every single year. The government is not run by the people in Mexico, but rather by the drug cartels, and this is causing millions to flee for their lives. No person can hear the tragic stories or see the plight of these people and not feel empathy for them. But we have to help them where they live.
Yeah.
Every child deserves to be safe where they live, and our first obligation as Americans and as parents is to protect our children. We cannot accept or allow amnesty for lawbreakers. We cannot accept or enable these drug cartels, human traffickers, and criminal gangs that are killing and kidnapping our children. According to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 800,000 children are reported missing every single year in the United States. Of those, 32% are labeled as runaways, particularly missing teenagers. They have no way of knowing that these teenagers are runaway, but they're labeled as such unless someone knows for certain that it was a stranger abduction. Therefore, those numbers you see of, oh, there were only 1,500 stranger abductions might make you feel comfortable, but you should not. That 32% of 800,000 is over 320,000 American children missing every single year. This is a tragedy that has gone beyond biblical proportions. I refuse to accept that they are just runaways, and I refuse to believe that they have not fallen victim to the human traffickers operating with impunity over our southern border. As we speak, the fallout from the drugs alone hasn't slowed down. The unheard victims due to this crisis are the children of the addicts who are left behind that are now flooding into our foster care system due to their addicted parents' inability to care for them or the death of their parents. My grandchildren were only 3 and 5 years old when their mommy died. Their young lives have been forever destroyed because of the Mexican drug cartels and our politicians who have refused to protect our children. In the last, in the past 30 years, Ohio has been #1 for only one thing in the nation. Ohio led the nation in the number of drug overdoses. The Sinaloa cartel, which is operating throughout the entire United States, currently is in every single state. They are in every county. They are the ones bringing in the heroin and the fentanyl that you hear about. There's a lot of confusion when people hear fentanyl, their first words are China. China led the fentanyl market 10 years ago. China no longer leads the illegal fentanyl market. It is being led by Mexico.
That's right.
The third largest poppy fields in the entire world are in Mexico. We have a fully compromised government in Mexico, and these cartels are running it with impunity. And they're killing 50,000 of our children every single year. If this is not a genocide of the American children, I don't know what is. And if Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer can look at these numbers knowing that 91.6% of the illegal narcotics are coming across that border from Mexico, and try to say there's not a border emergency, they're either insane or they're complicit.
Yes.
This isn't a partisan issue. This isn't about politics, and it shouldn't be. We lost 30 people to HIV, and the whole world paid attention to AIDS. We're burying 50,000 children a year, and nobody is even taking a second glance at why. It's not racist or bigoted to want to protect your children.
That's right.
From anyone who would do them harm. The latest statistics from the federal prison indicate that 42.8% of all the criminals in prison right now are illegal aliens. 42.8, that's a new number, that just came out. You know, a lot of states don't keep track of how many federal prisoners there are, but the government does. And these are numbers that the media will not tell you. These are numbers that the politicians on the left don't talk about. But it has to stop. Every parent in this nation should be concerned for the safety and welfare of your children. I don't want to see any of you standing at the cemetery watching them lower your child's body in the ground like I did. Nobody should have to lose a child to something that's preventable. So I am begging our politicians, I'm begging our president to take the politics out of this and start showing concern for the safety and security of Americans. Thank you.
I just want to say one more word. We got to pull out of the UN, folks. That's the one that's doing it all.
Can you talk to her, Herrera?
Hessie, who's next?
I think you are.
Go ahead, Hessie.
I'm amazed I got through it without crying.
You can go stand over here. Okay.
Are you listening?
Yes.
What's your name?
Hessie.
My next speaker is Hessie Harris, and she comes to us from the East Coast. She's an activist, and from my understanding, she's quite the activist. So I'd like to introduce Hessie to you, and let's take the show away.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Like a number of you, I voted for Trump. He said,
Right against your mouth.
okay. Can you hear me now? Is that
A
better?
little closer.
A little better. Closer.
That's it. I'm going to eat it if I get too close. I said, okay. So I said, I voted for him. He said the right things, what we wanted to hear, and thought maybe we would get our country back. But it looks like we've lost even more of it. The invasion of the southern border is being financed, fed, and maintained by outsiders with the cooperation of the U.S. government. Oh, there we go. They're employing a leftist strategy for destroying the government by overloading it with with the flood of impossible demands. Can't hear you. Gotta get the mic closer. Okay, I think they can hear me. Can you hear me now? Okay, with the flood. Excuse me. I want to hear that again. Okay. 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 They are flood. She wants to hear it again. They're overloading. They're overloading the government with a flood of impossible demands to cause a crisis and cause collapse. That's correct. Our government is betraying us. The Democrats in Congress and some rhino Republicans want open borders and universal amnesty. They seek open borders in order to disenfranchise, displace, and replace American citizens so that they can continue to import illegals whom they think will be docile, submissive, and easily led, which will facilitate their destroying this republic and establishing and being at the top of a socialist political order. Along with the traitors, with the other traitors, they criticize, obstruct, and thwart any effort to end illegal immigration while functioning behind a virtual wall of position, power, prosperity, and real estate barriers.
Candidate Trump may have seriously planned to deal with illegal immigration, but President Trump has either thrown in the towel or he was actually working in collusion with those who seek to destroy us all along. He keeps taking after the fact actions which are of no use, delaying actions which could be effective, threatening actions that would be effective, all to make us think he's fighting illegal immigration. First, he can and should close the border. He should have done it a long time ago. If he had, we wouldn't have close to 1 million illegal immigrants who have invaded our country just this year alone. We won't even go back further. He keeps threatening to do so, but he allows himself to be talked out of it by the argument that it will hurt commerce and business. Are American lives to be sacrificed for the almighty dollar or peso? Besides, why is the U.S. government supporting illegal business and criminal enterprises such as human trafficking and drug passage? Now Trump is threatening to impose high tariffs on Mexico, which apparently is having an effect because Mexico seems to be making a real effort to stop illegals from passing through their country and getting to the U.S. You can tell that it's having an effect because the congressional Democrats and rhinos are criticizing it. Once again, the argument is going to hurt business and commerce. Second, Trump delays or takes delaying actions which give illegal immigration supporters time to mobilize against him and therefore thwart him. A very large number of the illegal aliens are visa overstayers. He's aware of the situation, but what does he do? He issues a memo directing the secretaries of Security and the State Department to identify ways to combat non-immigrant overstays within 120 days. Delay, delay, delay.
Good one. That's a good point. Okay? Keep delaying, keep delaying.
Yeah, this would be very effective, but not, it's got to be down the line. The president promised that he would rescind the unconstitutional Obama executive order establishing DACA on day one of his administration. He didn't do that. He waited 6 months and then punted the issue to a Congress that's totally hostile to him and immigration enforcement. His delayed action gave the opposing forces opportunity to create strategies to block it. Outlaw judges acting in concert with illegal immigration advocates defied the rule of law. Now there's several lower court decisions saying that they're on appeal, holding DACA as being constitutional, not allowing Trump to go forward. They're all enjoined. Now, this is very dangerous because what this says is that a president cannot rescind an executive order, of his predecessor, even an unconstitutional one. Now, the Supreme Court is slow walking it. The word is they won't deal with it until next session. Next session starts in October. Again, the president gave his opponents time to mobilize against him with regards to the migrants who have temporary protective status. That prevents the deportation of those immigrants to their home countries because there's been a national disaster there, armed conflict, or other calamities. The status can be extended if the dangerous conditions that created it have not improved. The problem is that hundreds of thousands of TPS migrants have been in the U.S. for several years, some as long as 30, because previous presidents routinely made extensions. Since the dangerous conditions no longer existed, the Trump administration moved to send the migrants back to their home countries. However, he gave them a year to get their affairs in order. Delay, delay, delay. This is highly significant. They went to court, and a leftist judge enjoined the move for a year. Now, what is really special here is that that court did not have jurisdiction to do that. Candidate Trump promised to build a wall to keep out illegal immigrants. Once again, we're talking about stalling tactics. Trump knows that Congress is not going to finance that wall. Also, given that the country is overrun with illegal immigrants, there should be a halt to legal immigration until the problem is solved. Why is the U.S. admitting roughly 1 million immigrants legally per year when hundreds of thousands of them are sneaking over the border by the month? Similarly, President Trump set refugee admission levels at 45,000 for this year. But why are we admitting anyone when we're being invaded?
Right.
Okay. Certainly, if there are illegal immigrants who have genuine skill, which will benefit the country, and they should be allowed in. They have something to contribute, they're not taking. That's not the case at the border now. The people attempting to enter are either unskilled or semi-skilled. They have no means to maintain or sustain themselves and are dependent on the public purse.
That's right.
They are bringing infectious diseases that have been eradicated or have been previously eradicated in this country, such as measles, mumps, tuberculosis, and typhus. Also, what's showing up are diseases formerly confined to the third world, like dengue and scabies. Far worse, diseases are appearing for which there is no cure, like Zika. That's the disease that causes children to have undersized heads and brains. Children with that disease will never be able to live a normal life or care for themselves, even if they were to manage to go to adulthood. There is a polio-like virus that's been striking our children, causing paralysis that didn't come into existence until the Obama administration and all those surge children. And Obama knew it. They all knew it, but they made the states admit those kids to classes. Then our kids got sick. Some of them are paralyzed and some of them died. In addition, we've got migrants now, since the door is open, coming us from as far as Africa, including the Congo. And that's really scary because the Congo has recently had an outbreak of Ebola, and with 1,000 deaths. Diseases do not discriminate, as the rich and powerful that are pushing for open borders will discover. You cannot buy off viruses or keep them at bay because you live in a gated community.
That's right.
Or behind a wall that you've constructed.
Yep.
They will pay for their foolishness. The Lord doesn't like ugly.
That's right.
Congress has become the devil's disciples if they weren't already. Trump knows Congress is not going to fund the wall. It's time for him to move on to other fronts and stop stalling. Because of the backlog, it now takes years for asylum cases to be heard. Most of them are denied. Most of the time, the immigrants don't even come to court for the hearing, so they're deported in absentia. And even when they come and they are rejected, they don't leave. There are calls for more immigration judges to handle the backlog, and already overwhelmed BP officers to be trained to make credible threat assessment. However, those things take time. Delay, delay, delay. There's a very simple solution. The cases should be heard in reverse order. The most recent cases should be heard first. That way, that would prevent the backlog from getting, larger. Okay, I'm getting my warning here, so I better move along. Okay. The president is supposed to protect this country from invasion. There's something wrong when the president can get in the Ayatollah's face and send 1,500 more troops to the Middle East for a show of force and will do nothing to protect the American people from invasion of our southern border. These people are as much enemies as Iran and much more dangerous because they're streaming across our borders.
Yes.
Illegal aliens throwing rocks and boulders at Border Patrol officers attempting to hit them with tree branches trying to rush the border are not refugees.
That's right.
They are not victims. They are enemy combatants and should be dealt with as such.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
Skipping here because it's something exceptional. Okay. Okay. But you remember, I'm going to close and say what? Hold on to your faith in God. As the Bible says, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And our opponents fear God. That's why they're working overtime to drive our Judeo-Christian religion.
Right.
Hold on to your national identity. They fear that also because it unifies us. That's the reason they're trying to force us all to do the diversity dance. Also, remember that tyrants have a fatal flaw. They forget that their power comes from the people, even though they may have seized it. Okay, they never know when the fear they count on will turn itself inside out and become courage. To paraphrase the scripture, the people give it and the people take it away. Blessed be the name of the people. On election day, vote them out. Do it before they codify voter fraud by passing unconstitutional laws giving citizenship to the invaders. Okay, I'd like to ask you to say this pledge with me. You can, if you want, you cannot. Okay, let's repeat after me using your name. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties and responsibilities of citizenship.
And I will faithfully execute the duties and responsibilities of citizenship.
Defend the Constitution,
Defend the Constitution,
this nation, and its peoples from all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, our next speaker comes to you from the state of Maryland. His name is Shakil, Hamid.
Thank you, everybody. We have 15 plus million illegal aliens. Approximately 9 million of them are working. 100 to 110,000 employers.
Louder.
Every single alien worker and the employers have committed crimes at federal and state level. The illegal aliens lie on their I-9s, use fake Social Security and IDs, and steal them both. The employers accept all these documents and laugh all the way to the bank. The theft of Social Securities and IDs ruin lives. That's not funny. I believe that's a dirty thing to do. Millions of lives have been destroyed like that over the last 40 years, particularly little kids. That's even more than dirty things. That's extremely evil. These are not undocumented immigrants. They're felonious, documented illegal aliens.
Yeah.
The employers are also massive tax cheats. I'd be a rich man by now if I were allowed to be a tax cheat. I want to be one, but I won't because I'm scared. We have a 32-year study in Arizona, it's online right now, indicating the illegal aliens are 3.5 times more likely to commit homicide. It's not what Shaq said. I'm also Shaq. Mini-me, Shaq Daddy, the great basketball player. He's my favorite basketball player of all time. 3.5 times likely to commit homicide. Not just adults, but little kids. That's Joseph Mengele level of evil. I'm sure you remember him, high school history. And let me tell you the punishment for being illegal alien. These are the parking tickets the lying cohorts say, folks. Here it is. For the first time, it's up to 6 months of federal incarceration. Second time, it's up to 24 months. That's a felony. Overstaying the visa, there's also punishment. It's 3 to 10 years of banishment, depending on how long they've respected our national sovereignty. Just for being illegal alien, it's a very serious punishment. So it is not a trivial matter like parking. I get those every few years, even though I'm a very punctual man. I pay my tickets. You see how serious this stuff is? So there's no such thing as They're just providing for themselves and their family members. I told you, if you're working as an illegal, you're a criminal at the federal state level. And same thing with the employers. How to reduce the illegal alien employer population? Enough of this nonsense. We can't round them up, kick it out. We haven't rounded up anybody since the days of wooden ships. That was called slavery. Kind of wrong thing to do. Jam all the laws down there, especially the employer's throats. Build a strategic fencing. Hapless man like me, whether we can cross, you don't need it. With green berets, cannot cross, you don't need fencing there. It protects border patrol agents. They get shot at. Those bullets will drop to the ground like shooting Superman. They want them. They get scared. They're human beings just like anybody else. The law enforcement officers, they don't need to be shot at. Anybody who doesn't want a border wall, it's really dishonest. Thank you, my fellow Americans.
Thank you, too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hamid. Okay, our next speaker is comes to us from Oathkeepers. His name is Stewart Rhodes, and he's quite the activist. So Stewart Rhodes. All right, then let's go with Coy Harris, Cowboys for Trump. Okay, so hold on a minute. They can stop talking to the press and come up and speak, okay? They need to speak.
Grab one over.
Here comes Stewart
How you doing, buddy? Let me look at my live stream real quick on Twitter real fast.
Sorry.
Stewart, you want me to? Sure, yeah. Appreciate that, bud. Just hold that. Record. Go live.
That's right. Live.
It says round and live. If anything round up anybody,
Are you on live?
that's slavery. We're the round up anybody.
Stewart Rhodes.
Thank you, sir. Hey, thank you, big brother. Airborne brother. I was paratrooper as well.
All right, God bless.
God bless you, man. Thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
Hey, folks. Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me here. Appreciate William Gheen's invitation from ALIPAC. I'm here because my duty under my oath demands it. And I supported President Trump in 2016, and I still count myself a Trump supporter. However, I'm here to call him out. He's not doing all he can do under his duty under the Constitution he swore to defend. He is empowered by Article 2 of the Constitution as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States, and that includes not just active duty, it also includes the militia, including the organized militia, the National Guard, and the unorganized militia, which is the rest of us. President Trump can, without anyone's permission, doesn't need permission from Congress or the courts or anybody else, he can, first of all, federalize, call into federal service the militia, starting with the National Guard units of each state, and deploy them on the border. He does not have to ask the governors to bring their National Guard troops there voluntarily. He can just go ahead and call them into federal service. He has not done that. Why? My first question for President Trump is why not? He can start with the New Mexico National Guard. In New Mexico, the last Republican governor, who just left office in January, had the New Mexico National Guard on the border, helping to protect the United States against the invasion from the south that's going on, the illegal invasion. As soon as the Democrat was elected in January this year, brought into office, she pulled them off the border. President Trump could put them right back on the border by calling in federal service. So I'm working with Corey Griffin from Cowboys for Trump, who's an Otero County and Mexico County Commissioner, to do just that, to do a resolution to call on President Trump to deploy the troops of New Mexico, the National Guard, back on the border. That's the first thing we're going to do. But he could do the same thing with all the other units in all the other states. He has not done that yet. He could also call up us, the unorganized militia, call us into service as well. Everyone from the age of 17 to 45 is still considered the militia. And those of us who require service, like I served as a paratrooper, until age 65 because of our training. He could call us into duty right now, starting with us, those of us who are already trained, and put us on the border. He is not doing that. I think he should. He could also deploy the U.S. military, just like President Wilson did back in 1916 when Pancho Villa raided across the border into Columbus, New Mexico, and killed American citizens. Wilson deployed the military on the border and sent Pershing after Pancho Villa into Mexico with a punitive expedition. President Trump has the authority as Commander-in-Chief to defend this country right now by ordering the troops on the border. Why not have a wall of troops right now in between all the ports of entry to secure the border until he can build the wall? And he can also use the Army Corps of Engineers and other combat engineer units in the military to build the structures he needs, the wall and road structures right now. He does not need funding from Congress. He can use the DOD funds already appropriated to the military to defend this country. He is not doing that. Why not? So I know he has bad advisors. Everyone keeps saying that, he's getting bad advice. That's certainly true. But this buck stops with him. If this were an episode of The Apprentice, and he had hired somebody who had said, I'm going to do this, this, and this if you hired me, and then 2 years in, they had not done what they said they were going to do under the authority they had in their job position, what would he say? He'd say, you're fired. Exactly. So we need to hold him to his responsibility under his oath to the Constitution to do what he can do. And I don't want to hear about, well, he can't go too far until the election. His oath was to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. That Constitution guarantees to each state a Republican form of government and also secures them in Article 4, Section 4 against invasion. He has a duty and responsibility to do that. It's not about his political, his campaign. His oath is not to support and defend the Constitution unless it might cost me the election. It's to support and defend the Constitution. We rode with Cowboys for Trump. We escorted them in from Arlington Cemetery. Before we went there, Jim and I stood outside Arlington Cemetery, looked at all those graves. Those men who went and fought, like on D-Day, just the other day we celebrated D-Day, right? Those men hit the beaches and went and fought unconditional sacrifice. It wasn't, I'll do this unless I might get killed. It is, I'm going to do this no matter what it costs me, up into, including my life. That's what our president needs to understand. His oath is as serious as that. In fact, he is the commander-in-chief. Nobody else in this country can do what he can do right now. This window of opportunity, it belongs not just to us to do what we have to do, but also to him. If he fails in this window, it's on him. The buck stops with him. Nobody else is in his position. We elected him for this position. He ran for the job. We interviewed him. We decided he's the man. We hired him. He needs to do his job. That's what I have to say. And this is not, just want to let you know, my mom's side of the family, my great-grandfather rode with Pancho Villa. They're Mexican-Americans who came here legally, worked their way through the fields. All of my family served in the military as I did. This is not about race. This is about preserving our nation. There's no such thing as a nation on this earth that doesn't have a border that's enforced. All the other nations on the earth enforce their borders. Why shouldn't we?
That's right.
And we understand that it's a part of the agenda of the radical left that's taken over the Democratic Party to flood us with people that they believe will vote their way and solidify an illegitimate lock on political power. And Ann Coulter is correct that unless we stop it now, there will be no more constitutionalists, no more conservatives in the White House ever again. And we'll be left with no recourse other than what the founding fathers had when they had no other remedy to secure their rights or to take up arms. That's what we'll be too. All right, God bless. Thank you very much.
Stewart. Yeah. Amen.
All right. Thank you very much. Coy, let me just Coy Griffin. Oh, you got it? Okay.
Thank you, Stewart.
Coy.
Okay, Coy Griffin, you're next up. Coy is with Cowboys for Trump. He's another Trump supporter that's not quite pleased with the way that President Trump Coy?
Howdy, hey y'all. Thank you very much for the great honor it is to speak today here in front of the White House in the greatest nation in the world. I want to start off by making it very clear before I get started. I support our president. I support our president, his character and his strength and his calculated hand in making decisions that are good for our country. I can sit back and I can armchair quarterback him all day, and I can think he should be doing this, he should be doing that, which maybe he should, maybe he shouldn't, but I still believe in the leadership of our president. I'm an elected official. I'm a county commissioner. I chair a board of 3 in a population of 65,000 in Otero County in New Mexico, a state that is directly affected by the border crisis right now. Back in April, in our county, Otero County, we structured a declaration of an emergency in regards to the situation on our border. The narcotics are flowing into my county like they have never flowed in before. The Border Patrol checkpoints, the secondary lines of defense, are closed right now. They've been closed since March 25th. And the cartel is winning right now. I hate to make that announcement. in case anybody hasn't figured that out, but it's strategic of the cartel. I like to say that there's a double-edged sword on our border right now. Two edges of that sword, one migrant, one narcotic. The migrant edge of that sword is merely nothing but a smokescreen that the cartel, which is a sharper edge of that sword, is operating behind. The cartel is very strategic, they're very clever. They use large blocks of migrants to hit the border at calculated times to exhaust our border patrol. When our border patrol is exhausted taking care of the migrant aspect, here come the narcotics end of it. On an unsecured border, they come across our border, they get on our highways, and it's a green light wherever they want to go, because our secondary lines of defense in regards to our Border Patrol checkpoints are shut down right now. We have got to get our checkpoints open, and we have to get a wall along the border. There's no two different ways to look at it. I myself recently went down to the border with We Build a Wall, and I witnessed something that was just a perfect picture of the American resolve. It was Americans that don't wait on the government. They don't wait on the political leaders to make a decision. They don't wait on appropriations to come through the government, but they dig deep, they dig gritty, and they get things done themselves. Brian Colfash, the We Build the Wall Foundation, is a wonderful foundation, and it's a direction that any patriots out there that want to give to that organization, because they're doing a job that the government can't do. The structure that they put up in regards to the construction is top notch. It shows America true and true, and it's what we must have. I want to say on behalf of myself, my county of Otero County, we are not against immigrants. We love immigrants. We welcome immigrants. We know immigrants keep our nation healthy. We know that the immigrants, they provide labor in our country that we desperately need. So we need immigrants. We're a nation of immigrants, but before we're a nation of immigrants, we're a nation of laws. Our laws have to be upheld, and the immigrants that come into our country have to come through the legal, vetted, processed way. Any other way is dangerous. It's dangerous for Americans. It's dangerous for the foundation of our country. Last month, there was 133,000 that were apprehended at the border. But yet they weren't only apprehended. Right after they were apprehended, they were handed a piece of paper, and then they were turned loose inside of our country. With those pieces of paper, they go to the airport and they get on planes without any photo or physical ID. We don't even know who these people are. They're getting on airplanes and they're flying all across the United States. And we think, well, they're Mexicans or they're Guatemalans. No. There's over 50 different nationalities represented on our southern border. Whenever I was down there on the We Build a Wall deal, I climbed a high point. I looked across the border into Mexico, no border security, and what did I see on the other side of the border in Mexico was a newly constructed mosque right on the other side of the border. How do we know anything about what is going on inside of those walls? That could be radical jihadists being trained in Mexico and coming directly across an unsecured border. And here we sit back dumb and asleep in America because we're too focused on football. We're too focused on Nancy Pelosi's stuttering, mumbling speeches. We're too focused on Donald Trump's tax returns while we have migrants flowing into our country that we don't even know who they are.
That's right.
We have got to get our border secure. We've got to get our secondary security measures in place, and we have got to make America great again. And the politicians, like the governor of New Mexico, Michelle Lujan Grisham, that proudly and stupidly make the statement that there is no crisis on the border, she needs to humble herself enough to retract that comment and say, you know what, maybe I was wrong. Maybe there is a crisis on the border, but the danger with pride, as the scriptures tell us, pride typically goes before a fall. And I pray that she will get rid of the pride and she will put New Mexico and New Mexicans first. Right now in New Mexico was recently voted the least desirable state in the United States to live in, and that's my home state. That's the country that I come from. And whenever I see those kind of politics that are crippling my state, It makes my blood boil, and it builds fire under me, because I'm not going to sit back and let my state of New Mexico go down the tubes whenever we have the greatest climate, the most public lands, diverse culture with Hispanics and natives, a southeast corner that's brimming with oil, a northwest corner that's brimming with gas, and we're last in the United States. It ticks me off, and it makes me want to fight harder for the people of New Mexico, and I will continue to fight for the people of New Mexico, and I will continue to fight for our president, because we've got a window of grace right now in Donald Trump, and we better capitalize on that window of grace, because if we don't, the hand of judgment is going to fall on this nation like it's never failed before. Get behind our president, remember who we are, and let's make America great again. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Our next speaker is a Native American Indian, and he goes by the name of Whoop. Whoop, would you like to come up and speak?
And if I can introduce this man right here. This man's name is Leo Wolf Portugal, and he's a Native American Indian. And this man right here is the salt. He's a perfect picture of the backbone of the United States of America right here. And I not only call him a patriot, but I call him a friend, and it's an honor to get to introduce him.
Whoa, thank you very much, Coy. Hey, thank you. I am very honored to be here. And as a Native American Indian, I am here to lend my support for the Coy, Cowboys for Trump, this rally here, and those like them supporting Trump, and also to bring a message that some of our Native representatives were unable to bring. And that message is that there is poverty here in the U.S. We know this. But it would be shocking for me to tell most of you that poverty, we're paying so much attention to the illegal aliens and spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on these illegal immigrants, and we are overlooking the Native American Indian. In the Navajo Nation alone, 30% of its population is in poverty-stricken homes. No electricity, no water, no plumbing, no sewage, no adequate roads. And yet the government had promised that they would give them these things. In only 5% of the United States population, 5% is the Native American Indian. We have dwindled down to that. We are a dwindling creed. Our ethnicity will be gone within the next 100 years. We need to pay attention to this. That's a national crisis. The American of Americans is down to 5%, and how we show our appreciation, our empathy, our sympathy is across the board is to allow 40% of the Native American Indian reservations live in poverty-stricken reservations. There are 567 federally recognized tribes. There are 300 and some odd federally recognized reservations. And of those, only 238 reservations have gaming, some form of income. And only 75 reservations provide and distribute that money amongst their people. Now, mind you, once again, if this doesn't boggle your mind, we are only 5% of this great nation's population. We need your help. We need to squash this political look of the illegal alien and putting so much money into it, and turn to the Native American Indian. Now, don't get me wrong. It is a crisis. It is a humanitarian crisis that these illegal immigrants have. But let's not forget who the true instigator of it is. Let's remember who the instigators are. It's the Democrats. They try to say that Trump is the one fabricating this crisis. That alone should tell you what's going on. I do thank you for allowing me to speak. I do thank you, and I'm deeply honored to be here to give my support for the Cowboys for Trump, for this rally, and to lend my support and let our President Trump know that there are a great many Native American Indians, though that we are few now, there are a great overwhelming majority that support him, and we plead for his help. And I thank you. I thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Whoop. Okay, I've never had the privilege to introduce our next speaker, and the honor too. And our next speaker is me.
Hey, thanks for putting this on, Ray.
Yeah, well, you're quite welcome to all of America. Okay, my name's Raymond Herrera. I've been in the battle for America for the last 15 years. I started out with the Minuteman Project. I was a national rally spokesman for the Minuteman Project. Then I had my own organization, We the People, California's Crusader. I've been waging war on the body politic since 2005. I don't go after illegal aliens. I like to direct it to the White House or whoever's been in the White House before, mayors and all levels of government across America. For me, I've been up against George Bush, Clinton, Obama, and now I'm going up against Donald Trump. Okay, I voted for Donald Trump because there was nobody else to vote for. As far as I am concerned, he is the worst president on our issue, which is illegal aliens that stand on American soil. This is not a nation of immigrants, and it will never be a nation of illegal aliens. And Donald Trump has failed the American people. He has broken every promise that he made to the American people. Yeah, I'd like to tell you people that from day one, I never trusted Donald Trump. I only voted for him because I had to, and I will not vote at the next presidential election. I will never vote for a president like Donald Trump, Obama, Clinton, Bush, and even your starch enemy, Hillary Clinton. To me, you have to understand that Donald Trump has no platform with the American people unless he blames Pelosi, Schumer, and the Democrats. This is the only way that Donald Trump can come to the American people during the campaign for his re-election and say, I'm going to build the wall. Okay? Or say, USA, USA. Donald Trump has failed the American people. He has failed the American culture. He has failed our children. Generations of unborn Americans to the thousands of generations have been failed by President Donald Trump. Donald Trump has altered our American culture more than Obama, Clinton, Bush combined. He is not a well-versed man. Donald Trump, first of all, this is a fluke. It was a joke. It was an infomercial for Donald Trump to come forward to the American people and say, I'm going to run for president. It was a PR stunt, okay? So Donald Trump steps up to the podium, and the first thing he says and does is attack illegal aliens in the worst way. But they need that attack, but not from Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not well-versed on the issue, and that is the political and social dilemma of the American people this day. We have a liar in that White House that comes before the televisions and gives you a piece of candy and then turns away and walks away and does nothing. We did not elect President Kushner. We did not elect President Ivanka Trump. We didn't elect anybody but Donald Trump to enforce the laws on illegal aliens here in America. And he does not know what to say, what to do, or where to look. This man is not well versed, and he's not the first. Landed aristocrats throughout history have stayed out on the peripheral of a revolution that has been teeming with the people. And at the very last moment, they come in with their money and they buy the movement. That's Donald Trump during the campaign, flying around in the Trump airplane or the jet, or walking down that ramp. Whenever he has a rally, he walks down the ramp like he's the king or something. He is a nobody, people. He was a nobody before he was elected. He's a nobody in the White House this day, and he's going to be a nobody when he leaves. I got to tell you something, America, that Donald Trump doesn't know where to turn. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's a bought politician. There's a man by the name of Sheldon Adelson out of Las Vegas, Nevada. He is a multi-billionaire, if not into the hundreds of billions. He's right beneath George Soros. He gave Donald Trump $106 million for his presidential campaign. The self-funded president. Well, all you have to do is look at the money. And the money that I'm talking about, Sheldon, he made $1.5 billion annually in Trump tax, breaks. And his agenda is amnesty. And that makes it the agenda of Donald Trump, the bought politician. He is a politician this day. All politicians have come to the American people with a bottle of wine and promise you a turkey on your table, and they hug your baby, kiss your baby, and as soon as they get into the White House, or as soon as they get into the Senate building, or as soon as they get into the House of Representatives, they turn their back on the American people that they're supposed to represent. Understand one thing, America, that the voice, the will, and the mandate of the American people, which forms the public opinion of we the people, is to be legislated into law by the body politic in this extended republic. It is not their personal whims that dictates policy or dictates laws here in America. It is your voice, your will, your mandate that's supposed to be adhered to by the elected body politic, and not just in the White House, at all levels of government across America. Now, I have been, like I told you, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I am sick and tired of Donald Trump blaming everybody else but himself. This man can say, fix bayonets on the border, and it shall be done. I was with the 82nd Airborne in 1968, and I was ordered to fix bayonets here in Washington, D.C. Federal troops came into Washington, D.C. I was the first plane load, the fourth person to disembark that airplane and hop into jeeps and go into the streets of Washington, D.C. to restore order. I was an 18-year-old 82nd Airborne paratrooper, and when we landed next to Air Force One and they dropped that ramp, I was just beyond myself when I looked at the sky, and the sky was orange in the capital of we the people. So don't tell me that Donald Trump cannot fix bayonets. He must fix the bayonets on the border. He must hold the government of Mexico accountable for the invasion that they have perpetrated against the American people. Mexico is responsible from day one. Yep. Mexico has been allowing people into their country to flood our borders and break into our country. Mexico is not your friend. Nope. And I don't give a damn what Donald Trump says, that he's getting along with Mexico or Mexico's their buddy. Let me tell you something about some of the things that Donald Trump has done, and people don't even have a clue. First of all, he renegotiated NAFTA. How in the hell does the Mexican government agree with Donald Trump, whom they perceive to be a racist? Donald Trump is not a racist. He actually was our American-created president one day until he turned his back on the American people. Well, NAFTA was renegotiated with the government of Mexico at what, 30 minutes, a 30-minute conference that he had with Donald Trump. Want to know why? Because Donald Trump told the Mexican government that, give me this renegotiation on NAFTA and I'll give you amnesty. Donald Trump is not chasing any illegal alien that stands on American soil. There is no interior enforcement that's come forward. And the only way that you can maintain law and order here in America is to enforce the laws equally on those that violate the laws of our society. Donald Trump is handed the illegal aliens impunity once again, just like George Bush, just like Obama. They can murder, they can rob your banks, and they get charged with the misdemeanor. You cross the sidewalk, or you cross that, not in that crosswalk on the street, you get a misdemeanor. If you're charged with a felony, that's a $50,000 bail that you have to put up. Americans are not equal to illegal aliens in the eyes of this White House, and nor will they ever be, because once Donald Trump is done with America, we will not have America. America is never and never has been a nation of immigrants. Understand that there's no such thing as immigrants that dictate policy here to we the people. And by the way, why do we call people immigrants when they've raised their right hand and taken the oath of allegiance to the American people, to the American culture in America? And if we are to adhere to the American creed, and equality of condition being the first major component of the American creed, you must understand that whether you raised your hand or whether you were born of American parents on American soil, we are all equal. You have equal station. So that immigrant title fell to the ground. And there's a big difference between an immigrant and a criminal illegal alien. A criminal illegal alien is just that, a criminal element in our society that can do and walk wherever it wants. It can come up and murder, our children with drugs. Nobody's going to stop them. And they can come up and run over Americans in the streets. They're going to be charged with a misdemeanor.
Yep.
The day has come that we, the people, must take it to this federal government and all levels of government across the United States. And if they do not vacate the seat of we, the people, which is the seat of governance, then we must tear them from those seats and burn their seats. America has no representation. I've been in this battle for America for 15 years, and I have noticed one thing about Washington, D.C. I have noticed one thing about mayors. I've noticed one thing about the boards of supervisors and governors. They rail on behalf of illegal aliens. They legislate on behalf of illegal aliens. When have you heard from this White House? When have you heard from this Senate? When have you heard from this House of Representatives? This day and days past that they're going to make it right for the Americans that were transgressed by their ineptness, by their corruption, transgressed by allowing illegal aliens to invade America. How violent is it, people, to take an American worker, a father, and take his job from him, throw his children into the gutter, and make his children sleep in abandoned fields, abandoned houses, or abandoned driveways? I know how violent that is. I used my armpits. My arms were the pillows of my 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old children under the stars in campgrounds, in abandoned houses, in abandoned yards, okay? Why? Because I was a master carpenter that happened to be an American, on American soil, and we're not preferred. The American contractor this day, the majority of them, will rather hire 100 illegal aliens than to hire one American. They get cheap labor, and they can raise their walls and build their projects rapidly, okay? But guess what? They have to have the American tradesmen come back in after these illegal alien workers are done and correct what's been done what's been framed wrongly or whatever. Yep. So we cannot transgress our own people. Let the White House, let Donald Trump do that. Let the Senate do that. Let the House of Representatives do that. But not mom and dad. We are the rightful owners of America's torch. We are the rightful owners of America's bounty. America's bounty due to the American worker should not at any time be remittance sent to Mexico. Our fathers fought in World War II, as mentioned earlier, and I have always said that was the day, especially D-Day, that the ocean, the sand, and the land turned red with the blood of our American fathers, and they did not land on those beaches for no nation of immigrants. Look at my hat, America. There's a Purple Heart up there. You see that? And then you see those wings? I did not wear the American uniform and quit high school to fight in Vietnam for no immigrant, no illegal alien. I did it for the American creed. I did it for the Constitution. I did it for we the people. Because I am not one to stand back and let America be violated, transgressed, or threatened. I quit high school in my senior year to take it to the North Vietnamese Army and the Viet Cong in Vietnam. I did not have bone spurs, and I was not a millionaire. I was a patriotic American. I was the son of the greatest generation of American warriors that the world and America will ever witness, and that is those that fought World War II. We fought on both sides of the ocean. We fought in Germany and we fought in Japan. And the reason that we were able to fight and defeat these enemies was because of the spirit, the American spine of the American warrior. But more than that, it was our moms that built the bombs and made the bandages, processed the food that supplied our warriors in the battlefield. The war was won by spilling blood, but more so, we outsupplied Germany and outsupplied Japan. So why is it that all of a sudden the media has said that Americans won't do that job? I was doing the job of a carpenter, making $1,000 a week before this invasion occurred. I was thrown into the gutter. I was thrown onto welfare. I came home after looking for a job, and my little babies were crying in the living room. They sat in a circle, and when I ran in there, broke the door down, and I asked them what the hell was wrong with them. They were crying because they were so hungry. Donald Trump was in Trump Towers having filet mignon with Ivanka and Kushner. So these people, these landed political aristocrats that sit here in Washington, D.C., violating the American people, violating the Constitution, violating the American creed, violating your children to the thousands of generations. They don't give a damn about you. They got their fence around their house. It's not their house they're giving away. It's not their wallet they're giving away. It's not their American dream that they're giving away. It is yours. And if you want to support a tyrant, a man that's committed sedition against the American people that sits in that White House, go ahead and support him. I will not support Donald Trump. Donald Trump, to me, is the enemy of the people. I would like him to be the American creed of we the people, of America. But obviously he has shown you that he is not well versed, nor does he give a damn about you, because he has allowed the invasion at the border to come. If you understand one thing about Mexicans, or the people of Honduras, or Guatemala, or whatever, you give them an inch, they'll take 100 miles on you.
Yeah.
They have no morals. They are not of this American culture.
Nope.
Their morals and common decencies, they're non-existent. They don't give a damn about coming here and throwing you into the gutter with your children. They don't give a damn about poisoning your children with heroin and fentanyl. They don't give a damn about you at all. They're here standing on American soil, berating you, the American, asking you, what the hell are you doing here in my country? This country belongs to we the people. We the people built this nation, not immigrants. Immigrants raised their hand and they took the oath of allegiance and they became American citizens. We are equal American citizens. I don't feel no more American than the immigrant that became a naturalized citizen. We are equal partners in the battle for America. I will not allow these transgressions to continue. And this is why I held this rally here this day in front of the White House, to take the message of we the people to Donald Trump.
Yes.
Why hasn't Donald Trump sat with we the people in a round table? He sat with Schumer, he sat with Pelosi, he sat with Feinstein in a round table. He sat with Lindsey Graham in that round table. You know what he said? He told him at the end of that round table that he would agree to anything that they put up in front of him, because Schumer, Pelosi, Lindsey Graham are the experts. And that told me right then and there that Donald Trump did not know what the hell he was talking about. I'm going to tell you again, Donald Trump stole the voice, the will, and the mandate and the public opinion of we the people. If you look at Donald Trump for who he is a lost child. Okay? So when Donald Trump comes before those cameras, all he's going to say to you is USA, USA. I'm going to build that wall. I'm going to put that tariff on Mexico. I don't give a damn about no tariff. I want the bayonet stuck at the border. I want those bayonets in Mexico. I want the government of Mexico to feel the wrath of we the people, to feel the wrath of the American warrior that's there to take them to task for the violations that they have perpetrated against America, the American culture, and we the people. And I shall never rest America. And I don't care how many Trump supporters out there blindly support their mythical God. I'm going to stand against Donald Trump. I'm going to stand against the sedition that's being created here in Washington, D.C. In America, if you don't know what sedition is, it is to prevent the laws, to hinder the laws, or delay the laws from being enforced. The laws that are meant to protect you and I. And every senator, every congressman, and every president that's been in this office since 2005 has committed the act of sedition. It's punishable by 20 years in prison, in which I say we are looking at a seditious conspiracy, not only here in Washington, D.C., but across America. So find your American spine. I brought you the Murrieta blockade. The Murrieta blockade turned the buses around in Murrieta on July 1st, 2014. There was nobody standing out there that had planned the blockade except Raymond Herrera. And the reason that I did this was because I was sick and tired of Obama, Homeland Security, allowing illegal aliens to invade my country. I wanted to create the humanitarian crisis on the other side of the border. I wanted to seal that border and let Mexico rot in the filth that they created.
Yes.
And with that said, America, I'm beckoning you to rise to the occasion. Find your American spine and stop being the sheep, Donald Trump's sheep. You have to understand, if 10,000 Trump supporters showed up at a rally and had held signs deportate the deportation of all illegal aliens or stop amnesty or whatever, Donald Trump would change his tune. Donald Trump is emboldened by the blind Trumpsters that would follow their Pied Piper to hell. I am not one of them. I stand this day here like I stood in the year 2005, and I will fight for America like I did in Vietnam. I shall not surrender America to Donald Trump or any evil, vile, corrupt politician. Thank you and God bless. And before I go, I'm going to tell you what I've always ended my speeches this way. When people ask us who we are, you must understand who we are. We are mom, we are dad, we are aunt, we are uncle, we are grandmother, we are grandfather. We are born of the American creed. We are blessed red, white, and blue. We are the defenders of the American creed. For we are the defenders of America from the cradle to the grave. Thank you and God bless.
Thank everybody for coming. And please tell President Trump to pull out of the UN now and put the troops at the border. Thank you.
When I came to a rally here against illegal immigration, I didn't expect to hear so many people kind of critical of Donald Trump.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Right?
Yeah.
And so, especially your perspective, it sounded like we're maybe kind of in the middle of relative to the people here. I guess I'd love to hear from you. Where do you see Trump on, especially this issue of illegal immigration now?
I think that Ann Coulter is largely correct, that he has failed to do what he said he's going to do. And people want to say it's the fault of Congress, and certainly they're not helping anything. But as I pointed out in my speech, there's things that he can do as commander-in-chief he's just not doing. And that's no one's fault other than himself. I mean, he is the commander-in-chief. He could deploy the U.S. military on the border, as Wilson did back in 1916 when Pancho Villa raided across the border. Or he could also just call the National Guard units of each state in federal service and put them on the border. He hasn't done those two things. Well, they're very crystal clear. In fact, the National Guard, nationalization would be I would call it very uncontroversial. Other presidents have called the National Guard in the federal service for all kinds of reasons. He could certainly do that right now. So, and he hasn't done it yet. So, why not?
What do you sort of think of the people who are coming out here saying, some of these people are saying, I'm going to write in Ann Coulter, for example,
right.
And that they're not actually willing to vote for Trump again?
Well, because they're upset, because they believe that he, like I said, that he has not done what he said he's going to do. And they're correct. So I want to give him a chance. I think he still can. But you know, after a while it's almost like back in the Soviet Union, you know, someone be in the gulag and they'd say, if only Stalin knew, if only Stalin realized that an innocent man is here, I just got to get the message to Stalin. It's kind of like that. It's like Trump, you know, if only Trump knew what his powers are. How could he not know? He's the commander-in-chief, he has the friggin' nuclear football. I think he knows what his powers as commander-in-chief are. I think he's allowing himself to put his political campaign first. I think that's a mistake, and it's also a violation of his oath.
And what do you sort of see as the role of the citizen militia as something you were kind of bringing up, the idea of non-state actors or former state actors?
Well, no, you would be called in the federal service. What I said is he could call us up. You know, federal law, still to this day, defines a militia as both the organized and the unorganized militia. Organized being the National Guard, unorganized being everybody else between ages 17 and 45. As I pointed out, for us veterans, it goes to 65. What I would say is he would call us into formal service, federal service, then we wouldn't be non-state actors, we'd be state actors under the President of the United States. It'd be better if we were formed into militias in our states, but they've kind of let that atrophy and die away. All you have left is the National Guard. We're just not big enough. That's the problem with the National Guard. You know, I've been on the border is 3,000 miles long. To secure that border, even if you had a wall all the way across it, someone's got to patrol that barrier. And right now, the Border Patrol is only 21,000 men and women. There's just not enough of them to do the job. So really, it takes the military. At this point right now, there's no other way to secure the border other than the U.S. military and National Guard, or maybe calling us up as a militia. You need men. You need boots on the ground.
What do you sort of think of? It's an interesting distinction for sure. What do you think of the groups that are currently purely citizen militias that are patrolling?
Well, we did it. We don't call ourselves a militia because I believe a militia should be under the authority of the state and a formal government body. Like, you can't call yourself a posse unless the sheriff establishes the posse. So you can't have a private posse. It makes no sense. So I agree with Dr. Edwin Vieira that a militia is a state entity under the command of the governor, unless called in the federal service. But as non-militia volunteers, we were in Eagle Pass. We also did an operation in California on the border. It's disheartening because you go down there and you don't feel like you're doing a whole lot, because all you're doing is watching the Border Patrol process people who claim to be asylum seekers. And that's the other thing that Trump's not doing. He could simply just turn them back to Mexico, or if there's concerns for their safety, he could put them on a military base and hold them there, and they could have a choice: stay on the military base or go back to Mexico. That's what I think should be done. I think it's wrong to put them loose inside the United States. Most of them don't show up for their asylum hearing; they just disappear. So it makes no sense to me.
So I'm sure there are some people who probably support you watching this, and there are probably some people who disagree on from two different directions. So my guess is there are some people saying, you know, I feel like Trump's doing everything he can, and everybody else is kind of the issue. First, if you could respond to that likely viewer, the hardcore MAGA supporter.
Like I said, there's things that he can do as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces he's just not doing. He could call the National Guardians in the federal service. He's not doing that. They pointed out he could start with New Mexico's National Guard, which were pulled off the border in January by the new Democratic governor. He could just federalize them and put them right back on the border. Hasn't done that. Why not? You can't blame Congress for that. You can't blame the courts for that. It's the Commander-in-Chief's responsibility. It's on him alone. Same with the military. He could deploy. Look, Joint Task Force 6 back in 91 to 93 was a joint task force of the National Guard, U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Army troops, and the Border Patrol in the Boot Heel down in Hidalgo County, New Mexico. They sealed the border. The cartels couldn't bring anything across at all. It was effective. Why is he not doing that across the entire border? He could.
The other type of dissenter I'm sure is going to be watching this are progressives, are people who are somewhere on the left and more or less disagree with the Trump agenda and your agenda. What would sort of be your response to that kind of person?
Every country in the world has borders. So, and every country in the world protects their borders. And in our country, we have a right to self-determination, you have a right to vote. And under our Constitution, and all state constitutions in particular, you can't vote if you're a non-citizen. Problem is, we know there are non-citizens that are voting. It's happened in New Mexico, it happened in Texas, it's happened in California. It disenfranchises an actual American citizen to have somebody who's not authorized by law to vote. So that right there is a disenfranchisement of American citizens. Why would you be in favor of that?
Great. So the people who are watching were able to see your kind of full speech there. I guess the thing that I'd ask is, in addition to that, is if there are people watching who disagree with you.
Yes.
Democrats, progressives, people further to the left of that.
Sure.
What would you sort of want them to know?
You know, anybody that has a disagreement, disagreements aren't a bad thing. Because I'm not going to see everything the same way you see everything, the way the next person sees everything. But anytime you have a disagreement where you want to come to a solution, you have to have humility. You have to acknowledge that maybe, you know, as the Bible says, esteem one another better than yourself. And as long as we have that kind of a heart and a motive where we can listen to one another, where we can reason with one another, then, you know, we can always come to a common ground. Now, there's fundamental principles that are what I don't compromise, and those stem off of my faith. I'm a born-again Christian. I believe in the Bible. I believe in the Bible as the Word of God. The 10 Commandments are very clear, and they're not to be compromised upon. But such a thing as immigration, something like that, we can compromise on. We can work out. Such a thing as murder or theft, stealing, those are things that we can't find common ground because there's just right and wrong.
And so something that was kind of interesting out here, and I kind of unexpected for me actually, is the level of difference among different speakers over whether or not they still like Trump.
Sure.
So I know you're here as Cowboys for Trump.
I am.
It seems
I
like
am.
You're still
Absolutely.
probably voting for Trump.
Absolutely. And I'm
I am as well.
in probably, I don't know the geographical regions where most are here from, but I'm probably one that is the most affected by an unsecured border. I come from New Mexico. I come from Otero County, New Mexico, in the southern part of the state. And not only do I come from New Mexico, but I'm an elected representative. I'm a county commissioner from New Mexico. So it's not just me that's affected, but it's my constituents that are affected. So I have a lot of skin in this game, but I still support our president, and I still believe in his leadership and his character to make the right decisions. Now, in regards to Mexico and the agreement that they made the other day, the president needs to hold their feet to the fire, and he needs to be strong with Mexico, because Mexico's going to have to do a little housekeeping inside Mexico, and it's going to be difficult, but it's going to be good on the same token, because the bad guys need to be weeded out right now.
And what is sort of your response to your fellow speakers who are out here saying, I won't vote for Trump again because they so ardently agree with you on the issue itself?
Well, I don't know. I think that's a slippery slope. You know, whenever you agree with everything somebody's doing, but then there's one thing that you don't agree with, then do you throw the baby out with the bathwater, or do you get past it? You know, and I think that's what I think that a lot of these people said. There's no way I would vote for Trump next election. I think there's more just blowing smoke, for lack of a better word, because whenever it comes right down to it, he is by far the best man for the job, by far. And he falls in line with our conservative platform, and he's not taking care of the swamp. That's what sets our president apart from...
your information right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a card?
I don't have a card. But that's what sets our president apart from all the past presidents, all the current and past legislators, is he's not pandering to partisan politics. He's doing what's right for the American people, and he's putting America first. And he's not a racist. He's not just trying to do things for one particular people. He's fighting to bring power back to the people, and that's all the people. So
one of the things I hear a lot is that, well, he's got these kinds of advisors who don't really have the same agenda as him, that kind of thing. What do you think about sort of the types of people that he's sort of surrounded himself with? I heard a lot of hate toward Jared Kushner here today.
I don't know Jared Kushner. I've never met the man. I believe in the president's judgment of character well enough that I would imagine that he's probably a pretty good guy, or I don't think he'd be standing as close to the president as he is right now. The president's a good judge of character, and he's got vision, and those are the greatest things we need in political leadership today. If he needs another advisor, send him my phone number, and I'll come tell him what's up down there in New Mexico, because I do think, but in all seriousness, I do think that the president does need somebody. I'm not saying me, but somebody like me, somebody that's connected to the people, that's got boots on the ground on the lowest county levels, and I'd fit the bill all right, but I know many others that would fit the bill too.
And to people who are watching, can you just reintroduce yourself so they know who is?
Yeah, my name is
an elected official. Right?
Coy Griffin. I'm a county commissioner from Otero County. I'm also the founder of Cowboys for Trump.
And a Republican, I assume.
Oh,
Right,
absolutely.
yeah.
Okay. But you know what though? My party affiliation only goes so far, because just like my faith, I'm also a Christian, and I could say, well, I'm a Baptist, but before I'm a Baptist, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. And so before I'm a Republican, I'm a believer in our country and the Constitution. So if the Republican Party starts drifting out in the murky waters, then I'm going to kick them in the butt and I'm going to say adios, and I'll be a independent or whatever you call them. But I still believe in the Republican conservative platform. I believe I'm pro-Second Amendment, I'm for secure borders, and I'm pro-life to the very end. So from beginning to end. So that's my platform in a nutshell.